So the Ottawa Senators released a statement on Friday morning saying, yes, in fact, they are for sale, which comes as no surprise to anybody that's paid attention the last little bit. Um, what do you think plays out here, Ian? Do you believe this will be a local group? Do you think it comes from outside with local ownership? Are you getting any sense of where this is going to be at?
Yeah, and this is interesting, and I think what's really important too to point out from that release, and I'm just going to pull it up here so that I get the wording right. This is critical. There is a line in the statement that says a condition of any sale will be that the team remains in Ottawa,
Mhm.
and I think people need to understand that there was so much stuff thrown out there over the last, whether it's several months or years, about they're going to move or look out, or and I always felt like that wasn't the case. I always felt like there was multiple groups that were willing to step up, buy the team, and keep them here. Now, if you're asking me what I think would be the ideal scenario, I'd love to see a local ownership group, and I know of at least one, and I think that would be fantastic, because I think with local ownership, there comes an inherent trust, right? Like, hey, I know these names, I know these people, I know these businesses, I know who they are. That's a huge thing. So if you're asking me what I think option A would be, it would be that. But I'm curious if this turns into a bidding war. And, something that was told to me early in the process was, and I think I wrote this like 6 or 7 months ago, is they want to see that sale price get as close to what Pittsburgh sold for, which was 900 million US. And I think in the past we would have thought that's never going to happen. And I don't know. I start to think now that number is going to creep up and up and up. And now obviously we all saw and had a little bit of fun with the Ryan Reynolds news on Wednesday. But it's just a not so gentle reminder that there are a lot of people who are kind of all of a sudden interested in owning an NHL team in Ottawa. So I think it's going to end up being some sort of consortium. I'd love it if it was local. And I think that the key factor in all this is going to be Daniel Alfredsson, right? I think Alfredsson, from what I can gather right now, hasn't aligned himself with any particular group, but I think he's certainly kind of open to listening to who might have an offer and things of that. And it's going to be a fascinating. I think the next 6 weeks are going to be fascinating, because that press release that went out today, I think that was them kind of saying, all right, give us your best offer and go. And here we go. This is going to be a really fun 6 weeks here.
I'm told by the end of January this should be wrapped up. So I don't know where the whole John Ruddy lawsuit with the $1 billion thing plays out, and maybe if it gets sold to a local ownership group, that lawsuit goes away. I don't know how that all plays out, but I'm told by the end of January something should be done. If one thing though is we keep saying 900 million US with the Canadian dollar where it's at some point, Ian, this doesn't make financial sense. There has to be some kind of limit. 1.2, 1.3 billion dollars is a crazy number when you have to add an arena on top of that.
Right. And one thing I was also told a while back too on the arena is they should have had this arena deal done in 2016. Like that's going to be something that haunts them for years. That first LeBreton thing, kind of went off the rails, because as anybody listening to this knows, the price of everything has skyrocketed in the last, over the pandemic, right? So if you think of the basic cost of doing a build right now. So lumber and glass and concrete and all the things that you need to create a building. Well, the price of those things has gone up by like anywhere from 25 to 35, 40% from when they would have built this arena. So for the people that said, oh, you can build an arena for 700 million. Yeah, that might have been true in 2016. I want to know what it's going to cost in 2022. And I think that number is going to be north of $1 billion now to just to build the arena. So take the hockey team away from it. Now just focus on LeBreton. I think that's going to be $1 billion project now. So it's going to be fascinating. That might be in Canadian dollars too. So that's an important distinction. But I think that you're going to require deep pockets here, and it would not surprise me if they're going to have to ask for some degree of public funding here. And I don't know what the appetite is from the public, but I don't blame the public if they don't feel like this is at the top of their priority list. So this is going to be fascinating. They got to get this all lined up by basically September of next year. You got to go to the NCC by September of next year and say, here's our arena plan. It's got 16,500 seats, and here's who's going to build it for us, and this is going to be the cost, and this is it has to be all set. So that's why I tend to agree with you, Wally, that maybe early January to have a deal in principle in place might not be that crazy, because you have to have everything lined up for September of next year. So the sale might not close until the summer of next year, but you're going to have virtually everything locked up, I think, in the next 2 to 3 months.
Well, on top of that, you got to be vetted by the National Hockey League. So there's that as well. But there is one thing, though. Andlauer, who's one of the groups in Hamilton, he's already a minority owner of Montreal. So he's already been vetted. So they know him. The same with, and I can never remember the former minority owner of the Pittsburgh Penguins, who's in Toronto. He would be vetted as well, being a minority owner. So they do have some of that stuff already played out.
Would you guys like to sit in on the vetting process of Ryan Reynolds? Like Gary Bettman and Ryan Reynolds on a Zoom call.
Yeah. Hey, Ian, let's rewind here. The Ryan Reynolds interest, I heard it came from some kind. He was asked a question and he put the interested thinking emoji up. Is that all it was?
No. So, okay. So I exactly. So a Senators fan, I think his name is Casey, tweeted at Ryan Reynolds, and just off of Ryan Reynolds had just tweeted something earlier this week about here's the trailer for my new film with Will Ferrell. And in the replies, this random Sens fan is like, hey, by the way, our team is for sale. Come buy the team. And Ryan Reynolds decides to respond to the guy. Yeah, here you go. So, yeah, it's Casey, Sens fan. And he's like, thinking emoji. Well, based on that, then People Magazine reached out to somebody who they say is close to Reynolds, who said, yeah, absolutely, he is interested in buying the team. So it went beyond this, but I think this was absolutely this tweet right here, that if you're watching us, that tweet right there was absolutely the leaping off point for it. And obviously I've made some calls. It appears to be that there's some legitimate interest on his part. I think he would have to be part of a kind of a group.
Yes.
I don't think this is going to be him. But look, I think if nothing else, it adds to it just shows you that there's a list of people that want to buy this team. Like I hated for years when you would hear people say, well, you're lucky to have a team because if you don't keep them here, like they're going to be gone if they're ever put up for market. I thought that was garbage. I always thought that there was groups ready to step in and buy the team. So this is, I think, the Reynolds story is just a not so subtle reminder of that.
Yeah, a couple of things too. First on Ryan Reynolds, that's awesome, and look how much TSN, Sportsnet, all the major outlets got out of this by replaying this yesterday. People love celebrities. I love celebrity interest. It's a great story, and I'm with you though. I could see, and everyone's hearing the same thing. The group from Hamilton, you have Toronto. I really believe this team needs local ownership involved. Ottawa's a small town. Yeah. I think it's really important, and there's people here with deep pockets. At the end of the day, I really believe, and I hope that comes to fruition. I think it would be incredible. Perhaps Ryan Reynolds, if it is in fact true, jumps in as a small stake, and just the name power, the social media influence, it would be great for this franchise. It would be really cool. But it must have been a slow news day too. That is incredible how that happens off one little question from a fan. And to play devil's advocate, sure, he didn't have to respond, but after that, what's he going to say? No, I'm not interested. I don't want the Ottawa Senator. Of course he's going to say yes, whether he doesn't or whether he doesn't, because, hey, it's good for the brand, right? You always got to be thinking about the brand, and the more people that love you, the better. But, hey, I got to admit, too, I'm a Ryan Reynolds fan as well, and I'd be pretty psyched to see it, too.
He's one of those, like, and it's very rare to find in a more polarizing society, like a universally loved person, but he's pretty darn close, right? You don't really run into anybody who's like, I don't like Ryan Reynolds. Like, this guy's like loved by everybody, right? And he just
I know a guy like that, Ian. I know a guy like that.
Alfie?
Mendes is
This
kind
is going back to Alfie.
Mendes. Does anybody not like Mendes?
Oh, this is not the place. Yes, there are a few.
There's a couple.
Yeah.
Like, look,
Yeah.
how can you not like this guy?